Imagine this. Black volcanic sand explodes sky-high as the first Higgins boat ramp slams down. Out pour U.S. Marines, rifles up, screaming through the surf straight into the jaws of hell. The Japanese, buried 20 feet underground in a fortress of concrete and steel, stare in disbelief through their periscopes. They never thought the Americans would actually charge these beaches. This is Iwo Jima, February 19, 1945, and the Second World War is about to witness one of the greatest displays of raw American courage ever recorded. It's a cold dawn in the Pacific, and the biggest fleet the world has ever seen, 800 ships strong, stretches to the horizon. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, and troop transports all carry one mission. Take this ugly, sulfur-reeking chunk of rock 8 square miles in size, because it sits just 660 miles south of Tokyo. 3 airfields scar its surface, and every day Japanese fighters rise from them to rip into our B-29 superfortresses bombing the Japanese homeland. Capture Iwo, and those bombers get an emergency strip. Capture Iwo, and the road to Japan cracks wide open. Admiral Chester Nimitz gives the order. The United States Marine Corps answers the call. 70,000 Marines, the toughest fighting men America has ever put in the field, steam toward those beaches. The 5th Amphibious Corps under Major General Harry Schmidt packs the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Marine Divisions, veterans of Guadalcanal, Saipan, and Peleliu. They know what island fighting costs, and they still climb down the cargo nets into the landing craft without hesitation. For 74 straight days before the landing, Navy battleships and cruisers hammer Iwo Jima with the heaviest bombardment of the Pacific War. Over 6,000 tons of shells a day scream down. Carrier planes strafe and bomb until the island looks like the surface of the moon. Japanese Lieutenant General Tadamaki Kurabayashi watches it all from deep inside Mount Suribachi and smiles. He has turned Iwo into the strongest fortress in the Pacific. 11 miles of tunnels, 5,000 caves, concrete blockhouses 2 feet thick, and 21,000 soldiers who have sworn to die where they stand. Kurabayashi tells Tokyo, "We will fight to the last man." He just doesn't know what kind of men are coming for him. Aboard the landing craft, the Marines bow their heads in the freezing spray. 21-year-old Corporal Herschel Woody Williams from Quiet Dell, West Virginia, clutches his flamethrower and whispers a prayer. Sergeant Mike Strank, the big Pennsylvanian everyone calls the old man at 25, checks his squad one last time. Private First Class Ira Hayes, a quiet Pima Indian from Arizona, stares at the island and thinks of the reservation back home. None of them know their names will live forever. H-hour, 0900. The first wave hits the beaches. Red 1, Red 2, green, yellow, blue, the whole rainbow of terror. The ramps drop. The Marines expect to get slaughtered the second their boots touch sand. Instead, silence. Eerie, terrifying silence. They scramble up the 15-foot terraces of soft black ash that sucks at their legs like quicksand. Trucks bog down. Men fall exhausted after 10 steps. And still, almost no fire. Then it starts. Mount Suribachi erupts. Hidden guns that survived the bombardment open up with a roar that shakes the earth. Mortars rain down in perfect patterns. Machine guns hidden in the cliffs chatter like chainsaws. The beach becomes a slaughter pen. Men drop before they clear the water. Landing craft take direct hits and burn. Yet the Marines keep coming. Wave after wave after wave. This is the United States Marine Corps, and they do not stop. Sergeant John Basilone, the only enlisted Marine in the war to hold both the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross, is right there on Red Beach 1. Manila John, the hero of Guadalcanal, grabs a machine gun, plants it in the ash, and screams at his gunners, "Come on, you guys. Let's get up this beach." A mortar shell lands feet away. Basilone is gone in an instant, one of the first to fall. His men pick up the gun and charge anyway, because that's what Basilone taught them. By 0945, 2 entire regiments are ashore. The 28th Marines on the left, the 27th on the right, push straight for the base of Mount Suribachi. The 23rd and 25th Marines drive across the island's narrow neck. The ash is so deep that men crawl on hands and knees. Stretchers sink. Plasma bottles shatter. Corpsmen work miracles in the open. Pharmacists mate John Bradley from Wisconsin drags wounded Marines behind wrecked Amtraks while bullets snap around him. He never stops. Across the waist of the island, the 5th Division actually cuts clear to the western shore in less than 2 hours. Think about that. 2 hours after the first boot touches sand, American Marines stand on both sides of Iwo Jima. The Japanese never believed it was possible. But the cost is already staggering. By nightfall, 2,400 Marines are dead or wounded. The beaches are choked with burning vehicles and broken bodies. Yet 30,000 Americans dig in under the flickering light of star shells, sharing cigarettes and writing letters home they're not sure will ever be mailed. Private First Class Eugene Sledge from Mobile, Alabama, scratches in his pocket notebook by flashlight, "The dead lie where they fell. The smell is already terrible. But we are here, and tomorrow we go forward." Sledge doesn't know his words will one day become one of the greatest books ever written about the Pacific War, but every Marine on that beach feels exactly what he feels tonight. Day 2 breaks with a roar. The push for Suribachi begins in earnest. Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines climbs the volcano's northern slope through a hail of grenades and machine gun fire. Men move 10 yards, hit the dirt, crawl, leapfrog, move again. Every cave mouth spits death. Corporal Tony Stein from Dayton, Ohio grabs a machine gun out of a crashed Navy fighter plane, straps it to his shoulder like a rifle, and charges 8 pillboxes alone. He kills the crews, runs back for more ammo, does it again and again until a bullet finally finds him. Stein becomes the first of 6 Medal of Honor recipients this tiny island will produce in just 36 days. Higher up the slope, Lieutenant Keith Wells takes a round through the leg and keeps leading his platoon. When his runner asks if he wants morphine, Wells snaps, "Give it to somebody who needs it. Keep moving." That's the Marine Corps on Iwo Jima. By the 4th morning, February 23, 1945, the 28th Marines are close enough to taste the summit. At 1,020 hours, First Lieutenant Harold Schreier leads a 40-man patrol straight up the crater rim under fire the whole way. They tie a small American flag to a piece of Japanese pipe and raise it over the island. 8,000 Marines below see it through the smoke and lose their minds. Ship horns blare across the fleet. Grown men cry. But Colonel Chandler Johnson wants something bigger the whole fleet can see. He finds a larger flag from one of the landing ships and hands it to his runner. "Get this one up there, and make sure it stays up." Up the mountain it goes. At exactly the same moment, Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal reaches the summit. He turns, sees 6 Marines wrestling the big flag into place, and clicks the shutter once. Just once. The picture flashes around the world in hours. Mike Strank, Harlan Block, Franklin Sousley, Ira Hayes, Renee Gagnon, and John Bradley, 6 tired, dirty, terrified kids, become immortal in a fraction of a second. 3 of them will not live to see the end of the month. That flag flies over Suribachi now, but the battle has only begun. North of the volcano lies a nightmare of jagged rock, deep gorges, and thousands of Japanese who still have plenty of fight left. The Marines turn north, into the meat grinder, Turkey Knob, and the amphitheater, places whose names still make veterans wake up sweating 80 years later. And somewhere deep beneath those rocks, General Kurabayashi opens his final message to Tokyo. He knows the end is close, but he has one last card to play, one desperate counterattack that will hit the Americans when they least expect it. The flag is up. The legend is born. But the real bloodbath is just beginning. You'll want to see what happens next. Trust me. The flag snaps in the hot wind atop Mount Suribachi, and every Marine on the island looks up for a heartbeat, chest swelling with pride. Then the moment passes. Rifles come back up, packs shift on tired shoulders, and the 3rd, 4th, and 5th Divisions turn north, straight into the teeth of the strongest defenses the Japanese Empire has ever built. North of Airfield No. 2 the ground rises into a nightmare plateau of broken lava, deep ravines, and ridges with names nobody wanted. Hill 382, Turkey Knob, the amphitheater, Cushman's Pocket. Every square yard is registered for artillery and mortars. Every cave hides a machine gun or a 47mm anti-boat gun. General Kurabayashi has saved his best troops and his heaviest weapons for exactly this moment. He knows Suribachi was the bait. The real killing ground is here. February 24th dawns gray and smoky. The 4th Marine Division slams into the meat grinder. Hill 382, only 382 feet high, looks like a slag heap from a steel mill, but it dominates the entire center of the island. The 23rd Marines attack at 0930 behind a rolling barrage from the destroyers offshore. They gain 50 yards and lose a company. They gain another 50 and lose another. By nightfall the hill is still Japanese, and the Marines dig in so close that they can hear the enemy talking inside the bunkers. Private First Class Jacqueline Jack Lucas, 17 years old, a big North Carolina kid who lied about his age to get in the Corps, is right in the middle of it. On February 20th he jumped on one grenade to save his buddies and, when a second one landed beside him, pulled that one under his body too. 17 years old. He's still alive somehow, wrapped in bandages on a hospital ship, the youngest Marine ever awarded the Medal of Honor. Jack's story is already spreading through the foxholes like wildfire. If a kid can do that, nobody has an excuse to hang back. The next day the 21st Marines go in with flamethrower tanks. Corporal Herschel Woody Williams, the quiet West Virginia farm boy, watches his covering team get cut down one by one. He looks at the pillboxes chewing up his company, shoulders his 70-pound flamethrower, and starts walking. 6 hours. 6 hours he moves from bunker to bunker alone, climbing on top, dropping the nozzle into the air vents, and roasting the crews inside while bullets bounce off the tank that finally catches up to guard him. When it's over, Williams has knocked out an entire defensive line by himself. He will wear the Medal of Honor too, and he'll blush every time someone brings it up for the next 78 years. You ever wonder what goes through a man's mind when he does something like that? Drop a comment below if you've ever talked to an Iwo survivor. I'd love to hear it. By the end of February the Marines own half the island, but the half they still need costs blood by the gallon. The 3rd Division comes ashore and drives into the stone canyons east of Airfield 2. Colonel Kenyon's 9th Marines run into a fortress everyone starts calling Death Valley. On the left ridge sits Turkey Knob, a concrete strongpoint the size of a city block. On the right sits the amphitheater, a natural bowl ringed with caves. Between them, open ground zeroed by a dozen hidden guns. The attacks go in at dawn and come reeling back by noon. Tanks can't climb the rocks. Flamethrowers run out of napalm. Corpsmen work until their morphine syrettes are gone and they're injecting wounded men with anything that will kill the pain. At night the Japanese crawl out to slit throats and drag bodies away. The Marines start tying themselves into their foxholes with belts so they can't be taken alive. Captain Joe McCarthy, a Mustang who came up from the ranks, leads his company of the 24th Marines into the same ground 3 days in a row. Every morning fewer men stand up. On the 4th day, only 19 are left walking. McCarthy gathers them, lights a cigarette with shaking hands, and says, "Well boys, let's go get the rest of it." They follow him because that's what Marines do. March 3rd. After 9 straight days of human wave attacks in slow motion, Hill 382 finally falls. The Marines who reach the top don't cheer. They just sit down among the Japanese bodies and cry or throw up or stare at nothing. The cost for that one hill, over 1,000 Marine casualties. But the line moves forward again. Offshore, the fleet never stops. When the island guns open up on the beaches, destroyers race in so close their keels scrape bottom and blast the caves point blank. The USS Tennessee takes a shore battery hit that kills 6 sailors, but she stays on station. Every man aboard knows the Marines on the beach are counting on them. Back home, the Suribachi flag-raising photo hits the papers. President Roosevelt sees it and orders the actual flag brought back for the 7th War Loan Drive. The 3 survivors, Ira Hayes, Renee Gagnon, and John Bradley, are pulled off the line and flown home to sell bonds. Ira, the quiet Pima kid, hates every minute of the hero treatment. He just wants to go back to his squad. John Bradley tells reporters, the real heroes are still on Iwo. He's right, and 3 of the 6 men in that photo are already dead up north. Mike Strank, Harlan Block, Franklin Sousley, cut down in the weeks after the picture was taken. By March 9, the Marines have chewed through most of the main line. Only scattered pockets remain. General Erskine declares organized resistance at an end. The island is secured. The press starts writing victory stories. They're wrong. Deep inside a warren of tunnels near Kitano Point, General Kurabayashi still lives. He has several hundred men left, hand-picked shock troops, grenades, satchel charges, and one last order. Infiltrate the American lines at night, hit the airfields, destroy as many planes as possible, and die fighting. On the night of March 25, they come screaming out of the ground in the biggest banzai charge of the entire battle, straight into the camps of the 5th Pioneer Battalion and Army Air Force's ground crews who thought the fighting was over. For 3 terrifying hours the island explodes again. Pioneers grab rifles they haven't fired in weeks. Pilots fight with .45s. Cooks and bakers form skirmish lines. When dawn comes, 262 Japanese lie dead in the tent area and another 90 in the surrounding rocks. 9 Americans are killed, dozens wounded. Kurabayashi himself leads the final rush and falls somewhere in the dark, sword in hand. His body is never positively identified. March 26, 1945. The last shot is fired. Iwo Jima belongs to the United States. The numbers are almost too big to grasp. 26,039 American casualties. 6,821 dead. More than 1 out of every 3 Marines who landed. On the Japanese side, 21,703 dead out of 21,924. Only 216 taken prisoner, most of them unconscious when captured. But in the 26 months left in the war, 2,251 B-29 superfortresses carrying 24,761 American airmen make emergency landings on those scarred runways. Every one of those crews owes their life to the Marines who bled the island black. The first bomber touches down before the battle is even officially over. A B-29 called Dynamite, engines feathered, crew praying. The Marines who run out to meet her still have blood on their dungarees from the night's fight. The pilot climbs down, looks around at the smoking island, and asks the first leatherneck he sees, "Where the hell am I?" The Marine grins through 3 days of beard and says, "Son, you just landed on the most expensive piece of real estate in the Pacific. Welcome to Iwo Jima." That's the story they told for 79 years. But there's one last piece most people never hear. The part that happened after the shooting stopped, when the Marines started finding things in the caves that changed them forever. Hit that next video right now, because what they discovered in Kurabayashi's command cave will leave you absolutely speechless. You're not ready for this.